I am so excited to be here. My name is Amy Zolotow. I have lived many lives. I'm currently working in the space of, on the advising side, working for a boutique advisory firm, working with digital health companies, companies called Prisneus. My past lives have been in healthcare, working at large academic medical centers to smaller community physician sites. And I have lived every single pain point you can imagine. Um, Really excited to be here to talk about story. And, I really, when we're talking about change management and story, I want to focus on something a little different and take this in maybe a little bit of a different direction. And, so often we talk about the stories that we tell, we talk about the stories that we hear, but very few, we don't talk as much about the stories that we're actually making in real time with one another. So, to put this in context, so in my master's education, I studied story in the clinical setting, and there was a phenomenal medical anthropologist by the name of Cheryl Mattingly who studied this concept called therapeutic implotment. So she was really focusing how clinicians and patients were able to co-construct meaning in the face of uncertainty and illness and transformation. And when you're thinking about this in terms of change management in healthcare, this framework can be an incredibly powerful tool for navigating resistance, for fostering engagement with your people, for ensuring that technological innovations like AI are really integrated in a way that clinicians and patients can really connect with. So just to frame this a little bit more specifically, so therapeutic implotment. So what you're doing is you're weaving a fragmented, uncertain, chaotic experience, which is healthcare, right, into a meaningful story. And it takes the shape of healing and change and progress as this great narrative journey. So think about this. We right now, in this moment, are creating a story. Right now, this very second, we're creating a story. Like, how does that make you feel? Does it give you a sense of agency? It makes you feel empowered. I mean, we don't think of our lives this way. What Mattingly is talking about is so profound. And it gives us this sense that we are change agents in this process, right? So we really come to know ourselves and other people and processes and workflows through story, through narrative. So it's really a matter of creating that lived experience of transformation where clinicians and patients and industry can really shape this unfolding story together. Right. So, what are maybe some key components that we need to think about as we're talking about real-time story making? So, I think one area that we need to talk about is the framing, right? So, one of the reasons why change often feels so disruptive is because it really challenges those established narratives of professional identity, right? You've got characters that are all coming to a situation or an issue coming from a different place. There's a solution that needs to get implemented, and you're each coming. You have your own identity. You have your own perception of the world. So being able to take a step back and reframe that story in real time is incredibly important. And it comes back to the language that we use to help people understand and reach common ground. So that's one way. One of the other areas that Mattingly really emphasizes is this co-creating change, this co-authorship, right? So therapeutic implotment, it's not like a passive process, it's interactive. Change management often fails so frequently because clinicians feel acted upon rather than agents of their own story. And that sense of agency, you're going to hear me talk about that a lot in the context of change management and AI adoption, that sense of agency is so important because people want to feel empowered. They don't want to be passive participants in the process, right? So really getting that co-authorship, getting people involved. Again, I talk a lot in the space about the importance of it in an interdisciplinary approach, making sure that you're including all parties, incredibly important. So the other part of this is, moving on, acknowledging in the context of story making is acknowledging struggle as part of the story. Every story has a series of characters, right? And there's something at stake, right? Every good story has something at stake. There's a wanting, there's a desire. There's a move from, where we are now and where we want to be. And the same applies in healthcare, right? And we can use these different kinds of ideas, these narrative ideas, when it comes to creating meaningful change in the healthcare context. So really, implotment, you're not ignoring the uncertainty, you're not ignoring the doubt, you're not ignoring the resistance, you're really kind of weaving the struggle into like a larger narrative context. So this includes the interplay between you and other people, right? Other people and other people, making sure that that interplay is in motion, right? We don't want to stop communication abruptly. We need to work through our issues, make sure that we're on common ground. Obviously going back to every person has a different idea of how things go. We need to make sure that we're keeping our eye on what the goal is, what the outcome is, making sure that our patients are kept at the forefront, right? The patients are at the center. So that's really important to acknowledge that and work with struggle. And my last 2 points, focusing on those therapeutic moments to reinforce change, right? We want to celebrate the wins and we don't talk about the wins enough, right? Like there are things that work, even if a decision is made, that's a celebratory moment. And that's really important because it helps really ground the relationship, solidify the relationships you have with other people. Struggle is going to be part of the story no matter what in AI adoption. We understand that. But it's a matter of also taking a moment of pause to celebrate the wins and the things that are working and the relationships that are being cultivated during that process. Incredibly important. And then lastly, using retrospective sense making to really cement that change. One of Mattingly's insights, she talks about how people often make sense of events after they occurred. It's like in hindsight, like we all talk about something and then it's not until after when you're in the shower, you're like, oh wait, like I get it, like I know something, or I call them hallway talks. You get some of your best ideas in the hallway when you're caught off guard, right? You're letting those ideas marinate for a little bit. But that can really help in the transformation process, giving people time, a moment of reflection, coming back to them at later moments in time. And it really kind of fosters more of that interdisciplinary approach that the relationship building is part of that. So those are really some kind of key concepts that relate to the story making that I think we need to be very cognizant about when we're deploying AI tools, because it can be an incredibly powerful way to overcome any kind of issues with change.
Are we doing 2 questions then per person? Is that how you're?
No, we're doing 2 for you because your first answer is going to be very long.